Hello everyone, welcome to Dark Fae Tarot. You are joining me on the end of what has been a windy but a sunny spring evening. Welcome to new subscribers, welcome back to those who already know me. So yes, I'm doing a response to Christine Rose L's tag 10 beautiful decks. Now I saw the tag on Gigi Starling's channel and I watched that video and I really enjoyed the prompt, so I thought I would join in. I will leave a link to both videos below. Please do go and check them out. I had a lot of fun watching both videos. So there you go, and thank you Christine Rose L for this tag. I'm going to be joining in and I'm going to be giving my response to 10 decks according to the prompts. And then, if I may, I'm going to cheat a little bit and add a few honorable mentions with prompts attached to those, because they reflect also a little bit about my thoughts around beauty. For me, the word beauty is highly charged. It's as charged as love, it's as charged as anger, hate, truth, all those huge words. For me, beauty is also highly charged. And there are so many, not just love songs to it, but, you know, even if we want to go back to Shakespeare, there are so many odes, you know, to beauty. And you know, should I think of thee on a midsummer's day, you know, all these kind of like, you know, I forgot now some of the odes that he's written, but those come to mind. And yeah, and My Mistress's Eyes, that's one of my favorite Shakespeare sonnets. So anyway, you know, for me, beauty holds a lot of charge. And I wrote a kind of like my own kind of like poem, I guess. I don't know what to call it. But just some words around beauty, because it really does mean something to me. So here it is. And I'm always embarrassed when saying something like this, but I wanted to share it, so I'm going to give it a go, and this is a little bit of my creativity. So the words I wrote are: seeing conventional beauty, yet embracing crudeness of reality, seeing beauty that's ready to explode, allowing beauty to unfold. Magic is beauty, so is the mundane. Walk with softness and gaiety, and behold the colours after the rain. And so, yeah, those are just a few words that I had. And so, yeah, my picks kind of like reflect a little bit of the thought behind that, which is that beauty is so many things, and I'm going to be talking about that. Okay, so nearly 3 minutes in, the very first prompt is beautiful in design. I'm going to take this card away. So yes, by the way, this is a card, before I actually go to the rest of it, this is a card, Whispers of Spring, from the deck Fairy Wisdom Oracle by Amy Brown, and the writer of the guidebook is Nancy Brown, which I believe is the mother of Amy Brown. I love Amy Brown's artwork. I had to sneak in this deck. I'm not going to show it, but I just love her artwork so much. It's so beautiful. And look at that stunning card. So this is Whispers of Spring to welcome in Ostara. So without further ado, I will now go into actually the prompts. So the very first prompt is beautiful in design. And I had to pick, and I think this has been a popular choice, I had to pick The Forager's Daughter by Jessica Lee Howard. This is, of course, an indie deck. It's the first deck that I backed on Kickstarter. I think it was in 2021. Look at the inside, and I've never regretted it. It did cost me a pretty penny because I had to pay tax, but this deck is absolutely stunning. And I think it is beautiful in design because Jessica Lee Howard works very, very hard to get the actual design of the cards right, and in terms of its Art Nouveau style. And I do know that she spends days and just a lot of time per card. These are the stunning backs, and this is a cicada, of course. And so, yes, this is one of my favorite decks. I have to say I have a bit of a pretty syndrome going on here, where a precious syndrome, because it's so beautiful. I get very, very scared that I might ruin it, but you know, I do need to use it more, definitely. I do believe Jessica Lee Howard is doing an oracle, and by the way, this version is the Afterlight version. There is, of course, the original, which has different borders, but that's not in print right now. She might bring that back into print. The Afterlight version is definitely available. This is one of my favorite decks, and I could have put it in many categories, actually. I do have a sense of mustiness when I see this deck. I feel like I'm kind of like inside and then outside a mansion somewhere in Northeast America. It's musty. It's the height of summer. It's when all the crickets come out. I say that, and you see here the hermit, and it's nighttime. All the crickets come out, and it's really hot. You know, it's that high in the Fahrenheit. We're waiting for that break of cooling rain to come in, and there's this energy of just warmth, and you know, people go and sit by lakes and stuff like that. And when I see this deck, I almost feel that forest energy, a forest behind a mansion, that kind of thing. So yeah, I really love this deck. It's just perfect for me. It's kind of like, it just speaks to my soul in so many ways. It's just a beautiful deck. I just can't get over it. It's just one of my most beautiful decks. When I saw this tag, I knew I had to feature the Forager's daughter in it. So there you go. And that is still available from her Etsy shop. You can order it, or if you're in the US, you may want to order it directly from her website. Jessica Lee Howard is so professional. I was so impressed by her ability to get this Kickstarter out on time. And there's also a beautiful scarf, and like we got a beautiful metallic bookmark, and we got all the trimmings as well, and it was well worth it. Okay, so that's one of my favorite decks. That's the Forager's Daughter. Number 2, for the tag is prompt 2 is beautiful color palette. So for this, I had to, of course, pick Cosma Visions by James R. Eads. Of course, now Mirror Visions is out, which is kind of like the holographic effect. But I knew that in terms of color palette, I mean, like, let's just take a moment and appreciate the design here, right? Like, let's just take a moment. I mean, James R. Eads does this by hand, you know. This is no computer or whatever. But what he does so clever, and I feel this also with Light Visions, which is the sepia tone versions of Prisma Visions. So there's three decks by him. But this particular one, and it shows actually in all of his decks, is he's very clever, not just with color, but with light and shadows and darkness. So sometimes in his cards, and these are the backs, so sometimes in his cards, like here, we have this vivacious cosmic sky that's moving, right? It looks like a long exposure shutter that's been left over, and and that creates that swirling effect, right, of the night sky. But what he does very clever, and you'll see here, right, that hill is actually a dark space. And I think that that's part of his genius, that he can play with colors, but he can play with light and dark very, in a very, I don't know, I'm not an art expert, but a clever way. And, you know, here I feel like he's borrowing from like the French artist, you know, here at the top, the way he's done the sky. But then again, the technique changes as we go down into the card. And he's very clever. And I love this deck. And this is actually the lotuses with the suit that I knew would really play to this prompt, which is beautiful color palette. The lotuses are absolutely stunning. I'm actually wondering if there's enough light for this video, actually. I'm thinking, should I switch on the light? Hold on a moment. I just want to make sure that we're capturing the light as best as... Does that help? Maybe that helps a little bit. I've just added a bit more light, and maybe it will show. Yes. So you can see here how clever he is with, oh, look at that. And this, he actually shows videos of how he does the art. This has not been done, you know, in 5 minutes. This is a lot of work. Now this deck comes with extra cards, so I won't go through them right now, but just again here, the darkness. He plays with the darkness so well, and it's intercutting with the colors and the light. And I think that's part of his genius. So there you go. That's Cosma Visions by James R. Eads, another indie deck. Okay, so after that, the next prompt is, I better hurry up. and not go over time too much. Okay, the next one is a beautiful connection. And of course, I had to bring in the Forhaxa Tarot by MJ Cullinan. This is the indie version. Of course, now it's available on mass market, which is fantastic. I absolutely adore this deck. It's like, it is of course a soul deck. There's no other way to put it. It's like the Fae energy. I grew up in my Fae energy, if that makes sense. This deck, and look at the backs. This deck is kind of like me growing up as a Fae and my journeys. This always reminds me of that film with Angelina Jolie and Dakota Fanning. I think it's a Malefice or something like this. It's called. Yeah. So yeah, I love this. The World card. This deck is just like me in a deck. If I could be in a deck, I'd be her. I would be this curious creature on her travels with hope here and just lots of stuff, you know. Again, it's the play on color. This could have been in the color palette section, but I love this because I'm so connected to this deck. This deck just speaks my world. It holds a lot of my hopes. It holds a lot of also my fears and my dreams. It holds a lot of the energy of sometimes what I need to just see. I pair this a lot with the Sacred Creators Oracle with Chris Ann. I show that deck so much, I'm not going to show it this time, but that is like a favorite of mine. And these two decks together just are my dream decks. You know, they're just my dream come true of decks that I love. And yeah, I feel this connection because she really does understand, you know, the tears that I cry and the things that are sacred to me. And, you know, it's just such a beautiful story. And I love that the Fae here is vampiric. The Fae is like a maiden at times. Sometimes she's a mermaid. Sometimes she's a warrior. Here she's an archer. She's a friend. She's alone at times. She's a teacher. She's a companion. So many aspects of her. So yeah. So yes, that's the Forhaxa Tarot by MJ Cullinan. And so the next prompt is beautiful in association. Now this was interesting. I wasn't sure what this really meant for me. I decided to feature this deck because I didn't know where else to put it, to be honest with you, but I wanted to put it in. And that is the Moonchild Shadow Edition. This deck is just, again, absolutely stunning. I think that the interesting thing is that I wanted this deck before I even had the Moonchild original, because I'd seen that this was coming forward. I'd seen it on Danielle Noel's Instagram page a few years ago. And before I could even see the rest of it, I just thought, yes, this is it. And I think for me, it's the color palette. It's these muted maroons and coppers and pastels. I love it. I also like the Moonchild Tarot original as well, to be quite fair. I feel like that's like, you know, those sugared almonds, those sweets? It reminds me of those. But I absolutely love the color palette in this deck. I feel like I have dropped onto another planet in this deck. I am on the moon in some strange way. It's a beautiful ethereal deck. It has a movement in it that always leaves me feeling a little bit like, you know, oh, look at that Dark Veil deck. God, look at that, it's stunning. But yeah, it's a deck that has a beauty that really just leaves me kind of like, you know, I'm a wanderer in this deck. That's the arc. This is one of the cards that I just thought, I have to have this deck. I mean, like, look at that. And I think there's another card in here. There's many in here. But there's another one, if I can get to it, that really, like, I know all of us just love. It's an iconic card. Here it comes. Look at that 5 of coins. 5 pentacles. Isn't that breathtaking, that labyrinth? So yeah, I just really, really love this deck. It's definitely my favorite Danielle Noel deck. And I know many were expecting something different. Look at the sides of that. I knew what I was getting. I knew what I was getting before I even ordered it. And as soon as I could, I bought it. Basically, it was meant to be. So that's the Moonchild Tarot by Danielle Noel. So the next one is Beautiful in Wonder. Now, I had another deck thought of originally, and then I thought, no, I'm going to show this one because I don't show this one enough, and it is gorgeous. Let's look at the Llewellyn Tarot again by Anne-Marie Ferguson. And this is just my inner child in a fairy tale. And as some of you know, or many of you know by now, I grew up in northwest England. I'm born there. And I often went to Wales as part of school trips and stuff. Wales was like literally like a 40-minute drive from where I grew up. So, so this is the companion book, which we won't look at. But this deck is just like a beautiful fairy. Look at it. It's like, I mean, what a childlike wonder happens when I look at this deck. I feel like I'm lost in a story. I'm lost in a fairy tale. I can feel the horses galloping here. It's stunning, and it's that energy of the myths of Wales. And you know, I've actually stood, if anybody knows, in Ireland, Dunleary. So Dunleary is south of the Dublin city, and it's above Bray. So around there, we have also James Joyce days and stuff like that. So if you're ever going to Ireland, I would definitely suggest going there when they have James Joyce days, which is like a week where they do lots of songs. And along that line, like, you can walk for like a good couple of hours, and you'd hear people saying poetry and singing songs and playing music. And I stood in Dunleary and looked across, and on a good day, I mean, you have to really squint. I mean, it's a bit of a legend, but it's true. You can see Wales. You can see the coast of Wales. And that's a moment where it's like you're standing in Ireland and you're looking over to Wales. It's just breathtaking. You know, it's the same as when people stand at Dover and they can see on the opposite side, you know, France, or when people are at Dunkirk and they look over and they can see the white cliffs. You know, that's also well known. And from Ireland, part of Ireland, you can actually see Wales, and it's just stunning. And there's a ferry you can use to cross over as well. So this deck for me is a wonder of my heart. It took me a long time to get around to really working with this deck, but when I did, I felt like my inner child leapt, and you know, it's like it did a somersault in my stomach, and that's when I just knew that this deck was really, like, you know, just a beautiful reminder actually of where I grew up and where I had the privilege to be born. You know, I now look back and I just think, you know, I could never have anything different. You know, I'm just so lucky with all the experiences I've had in life and all the things that I've managed to experience so far. So that's the Llewellyn Tarot by Anne-Marie Ferguson, mass market, if anybody wants to pick it up, of course. So there you go. So the next prompt is, and let me see, I need to scroll. Okay, so the next prompt is Beautiful in Rhythm. And some people had put this next to the Wheel of the Year, so I thought that was a great way to do it. And of course, we have to have Tarot of the Golden Wheel by Mila Lusenko. I love this deck. I mean, when I say I love this deck, I mean, this deck is like a workhorse deck. She just sings all the answers. I've done plenty of readings for her with myself, for other people as well. Actually, a few times I've been like, let me just get the Tarot of the Golden. It's like, I'll pull a deck trying to impress someone, and I'm sort of thinking, I'm not getting it. And then I'm thinking, why don't I just get Tarot of the Golden Wheel out, and boom, she'll give me the messages, you know, straight away. This deck is just absolutely stunning. Again, the watercolors, you can see I love watercolor art. Breathtakingly done. Of course, it's based on Slavic culture. I find this really reminds me of the Silk Road. I have a very strange background, by the way, as you can already tell. So this reminds me a little bit of those gorgeous silks that come from the East. They come from, let's say, the Ottoman Empire and those kind of spaces. And of course, you know, they have gone into Slavic culture as well, and influencing those clothing over, you know, hundreds of years I'm talking about. So yeah, I find this deck absolutely stunning in so many ways. The clothing, the actual watercolors that are done, the vibrancy of the deck. And one of the last thing I want to say, I just want to whiz through so I can show you, is that there is something in this deck which I had in my dreams, and it's with the cup suit, if I can find it. I kept seeing this in my dreams. I'll show you it if I can find it. Oh, there they are. It's these leaves. It's this watercolor effect. I kept seeing it in my dreams, and I knew I had to buy this deck. I had to work with it. It was just, it was everywhere. Where is it again? I'll show you again. Look how beautiful this is. Let me find another one. Oh, now they're probably at the bottom. Look how beautifully this is done. Here they are. You see that there? I was seeing these, I don't know, these kind of vines in my dreams. And I think that's what just, it kept coming back to me. This kept coming back to me. And I just knew I have to work with this. If anybody knows what kind of tree this is, or if it's in a part of, specifically a part of Slavic culture, I would love to know, because I have really, really strong dreams where I see this tree again and again. So yeah, this is Tarot of the Golden Wheel by Mila Losenko, and this is a US games deck. So again, it is mass market. I believe it began as an indie and then it went mass market. Okay, so beautiful in meaning. So that has to be, of course, and where is she? Oh, there she is. I had to show one of my bee decks. This is Wisdom of the Sacred Bee Oracle. I could have showed the tarots instead. This is by Kelly Burton. It is an indie deck, and it's the first indie deck of hers that I bought, first of one of her bee decks. Of course, beautiful in meaning because, as many of you know, I associate the bee energy a lot with my mother. She's a Capricorn. There's something about that drone worker energy. It can go overboard. It can be quite addictive, but she, that's who she is. And I've spoken a bit about her, her ethos, and the situation that we were in, a difficult situation. And she had to really just held everything together, raising 2 kids on her own and the situation we were in. And she did it, and it took me years. And really, actually, it was Kelly Burton's bee decks. They're beautiful. Of course, they're stunning decks. But it was this energy that she helped me connect to, where I began to realize this is that mother who has to fight and keep it going no matter what. And those of you who know that situation, you know what I'm referring to, which is very, very difficult. And I didn't appreciate it when I was younger. I only got to realize it when I was older. I'm at that age now, actually, where she had, one of her darkest nights, I guess, and then she went through more dark nights. But yeah, so I think it's so beautiful for me. It says here the soul journey. It's a soul journey. We're all on, right? We have our karmic journeys. We have our journeys of reckonings and renewals and rebirths and letting go and love, and just learning what love is, right? And I don't mean that soppy hallmark stuff. I mean that kind of love where, we learn to love others even when it's difficult and they're not who we want them to be, but this is who they are, right? And I don't mean that in a romantic way. I think it extends to many areas of our lives. But it's also learning to love the vulnerable, learning to love ourselves, have compassion. It says here scarcity, having that compassion, having that patience with ourselves, knowing that each generation is always overcoming a trauma, is always overcoming and growing. And, our generation is also doing that. So yeah, this deck, these decks have been really beautiful to me in meaning. And that was Wisdom of the Sacred Bee Oracle. Okay, sorry, I'm going on a bit here, but thank you for listening. Stunning, stunning deck. It is indie, but well worth it. I really think it's a really beautifully produced deck. Okay, so after that, let's look at beautiful in artfulness. And yeah, I had to bring this one in because I think it is a beauty. And here she is. Sorry, I was just looking for her. Here she is. And that is, of course, my Slavic Legends Tarot by Tarotteca Studios. I think the intricacy of this deck is just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Now, these are the same creators that did the Dark Mansion Tarot, but I wanted to bring this out because, I mean, when we look at that, I don't even have the words to tell you how I feel about the intricacy of that artwork, the painstaking nature of it, the depth, the way that this, it doesn't look one-dimensional in any way. The work that's gone into this deck is just beautiful. I find it stunning. I just find that there's a lot of thought. As I mentioned before in some of my videos, there is another tarottuber who actually did videos explaining the legends behind these cards, which I think is absolutely stunning. This has, of course, my favorite Ace of Cups ever is in this deck. Just a beautifully rendition deck, and I can't say much more about it. I mean, look at the pentacle here. I've just never seen art like this until I saw it here. But again, you know, it just tells you how, you know, it just gives an artistic rendition that we don't see in other places, right? This is very unique. I think it is anyway. And yeah, I absolutely find this deck to be stunning. So that is Slavic Legends Tarot by Tarotteca Studios. I always have the Two of Coins up in this deck, so let's switch it. Oh, we've got the Two of Swords now. There we go. And this is still available. And it is an indie deck, I think around 60 euros, or about the same in the USD right now. And then they do very basic shipping, so you're not actually paying an arm and leg for it. Okay, then we have number 9, which is beautiful in haptics, which I understand is to do with tech, this kind of like vision, ethereal sense. And I knew when I saw this and I looked at it, I just knew, of course, we have to bring in Tarot of the Holy Spectrum this way around, Infinity Edition. Now, I wanted to buy the Infinity Edition, and funny enough, then I actually had, I think it was Maureen who said to me, you know, of course, there's the original, and she had the original, and then of course I realized, of course, there's the original. And anyway, I have all three. I have the Color Me Edition as well, you know, and I'll link that video actually if you're interested in knowing which one to pick. But this one thing I want to talk about this deck, which is I woke up to it with this deck. I don't consider myself a medium in any way, and I don't see myself that way, although I understand from mediums that I do have those aspects. But anyway, for the first time ever, this deck and this particular Fool card drew me into walking into a liminal space that I'd known since I was a child, but the first time I saw it, and this is not the forest liminal space, this is that cosmic space where souls have passed over. For me, this is kind of like that limbo area where they're past, but yet could I transport myself there? And this is the deck that does that for me. It just takes me into a void. And it's a void where, you know, the wind is flowing through her hair. It's a void, his hair, sorry, the Emperor. It's a void where I can feel those howling winds of the universe coming through. I don't know if that makes sense. Like here, I feel like I'm right next to the sun. I really feel that cosmic darkness. I feel like I'm in Interstellar, I think. And there's a melancholy in this deck. I feel there's a heartbeat. This deck literally, like, I feel like this is the deck that really marks that moment where I will be crossing the bridge, you know, and I'll be making my way and my journey. And I've known about that journey since I was a child, because of course I had to face that truth very young, and process it. And you know, it's just, and look at the pain as he's falling through, because he's been pierced upwards. I just find this deck, like, I just want to cry sometimes when I see this deck. I don't think it was meant to do that. I don't know. I don't think that's what the authors meant, but it's beautiful in its heartbeat. There's that life, that passing of life, that passage that I feel in this deck, and I'm so grateful actually that I can work with this deck and reconcile some of my feelings, right? Because that's what we do in life. We reconcile so much of the stuff that we just didn't know how to compartmentalize before. And it's almost like each decade, each turn of the year, each solar return, we go into a new space and we find, okay, that's what it meant all along in my life. Or, you know, that episode from when I was 20, or when I was 13, or when I was 4, or when I was, I don't know, 29 or whatever. this is what it's coming towards. And we all have that, right? So anyway, I just had to share this deck. I think it's stunning, stunning deck. I knew, I don't know where I saw this one, but I wanted it. And then I went back and I got the original. But the Infinities is my favorite, I think, out of the three. But of course, I just love Chase Verhoeven is the creator, created by Chase Verhoeven. They also have a podcast which gives the thoughts behind these decks. Okay, so the final of the official prompts is beautiful incenses. And of course, I have to bring in now my beloved Herbcrafter's Tarot. Let's just take a moment. I mean, this deck is just a big deck, hug deck, goodness deck, a deck where I can smell the herbs, I can smell the plants and the teas and the brews that I made, and you know, I can look at the backs, I can run home and I can feel the air going through these this field of lavenders. Can you smell the lavender? You know, it's just, this is oregano. It's just such a beautiful deck, but just also all the senses come alive. I can feel my feet on the earth, crunching on the grass as I walk. I can feel the flames and that warmth of the heat on a cold, chilly night outside. It's just such a great deck. It's just a wonderful, great deck. A big bowl of goodness in this deck. That's all I can say. It's like a hug in a mug, in a deck, in a card, in everything. Of course, you all know that my favorite card is the Three of Cups in here because it's a little kitty party going on. I mean, just... But yeah, this is kind of like the deck which really sums up coming home. And all our senses come alive when we come home, right? All of our senses come alive when we're at the home and hearth of our home. So there you go. So that is the Herbcrafter's Tarot. Okay, so we're 30 minutes in, so I'm going to try and wrap up. These are my honorable mentions, and people, just stay with me. And they have prompts to them. Perhaps you're going to do this tag, and perhaps it's okay to add these extra prompts on. I don't know. Hopefully it's okay, but I'm going to add on just a few extra. Okay, beautiful in wildness. I had to say this. There is a wildness, right? Beauty has that. That's what my prose was about. And I have to include my beloved Hush Tarot by Jeremy Hush. It's a mass market deck. And this has a wild, wild Fae energy. She does not want to be contained. This is a deck, look at the backs there. This is a deck that will just go out there and take life and take decay and make it beautiful. It takes death and it turns it around. I love this deck. Let me bring some light in. I love this deck because of its energy of wildness and natural beauty, and you can't contain me. That's what this deck says. You can't hold me down. These wires, these thorns, these branches, they can't hold me back. I will fly. That's what I feel with this deck, and I just absolutely love it. It's just a beautifully wild deck for me. And I have to say that when I don't use the Hush, this has been done this like coppery edging. I don't use the Hush, I miss her, and I just have to get her out again, basically. Okay, so the next one that I just added on is a new deck that I've brought in, and I have to show it. And it's called Beautiful in Shadow. That's the prompt. And this is the Jupiter Power Tarot. This is very new to my collection. I am going to do, maybe you want to do a walkthrough, see a walkthrough, I don't know. I saw this on Toe Tarot's channel. I loved it. I just knew I had to get this deck. It's very new. It's very raw. This is a raw deck. This is a shadow deck. I love it. Look at that. She speaks to me on such a beautiful, energetic level. I already know what I want to pair her with. I already know how I want to work with her. I still need to do a deck interview. I mean, this deck is like, put me into gear, we have to go. But you see, I'm not telling you the rest of the story because her little sister has also arrived, and her little sister wants time with me as well. So there's a bit of an issue going on here, with Charlie. Her name is, sorry, let me get the name right because I'm going to butcher it. Charlie. Sorry, I'm going to butcher it. I want to make sure I get it right. Look, she's even done beautiful. This guidebook is absolutely phenomenal, by the way. So I have to do actually a proper... I think I'm going to butcher the name, but I think it's Charlie Quintero. I think that's the name. but I'm just trying to make sure because I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her second name correctly, but I think it is Charlie Quintero, and I can't see her name anywhere here. I'm like, lady, where is your name? But she is awesome. Oh, here it is, Charlie Quintero, and this is I can't go into it too much because I don't want to take up too much time, but this is like a deck where I think it will go down in indie deck history as a highly underrated deck unless people pay attention to it, because her work is phenomenal. So perhaps I need to do a proper review, walkthrough, and also a proper review because I want to work with her the whole lot. She needs it. Okay, beautiful in vividness. That was another prompt that I added on quickly. Okay, let's just bring in the Language of Flowers by Llewellyn Tarot. You know I love Llewellyn Tarot. I have to show her deck. This is Rock Pool. This is like now around 18 euros. Can we just fall into the card here? Can we just fall into this imagery? I actually use these cards still for meditation. Yesterday I had pulled out Australian Wildflower deck, her other deck, and I was using it as one of the cards as a meditation piece. Her decks are a let's sit down together and be calm. That's what her decks are for me. Let's be calm, let's connect, let's think, let's not think, let's be quiet. That's what her decks are to me. There's nothing else I can say. I've never been to Australia. I don't even know these flowers, these plants, but it's just, they speak to me. They just so speak to me so beautifully. Her gouache paintings are actually what captures me. It's almost like I'm gone into flight and I'm there. So I don't understand what happens to my mind, but this is a beautiful deck, and just, yeah, you can see I'm so in love with it still. So glad I have her work. There you go. So that's Llewellyn Tarot. Okay. Beautiful in celebration. Sorry, I am going on a bit here, people, and then I'm going to finish. And that has got to be the Seasons of the Witch, the Imbolc Oracle. I could have picked one of the others, but I wanted to show Imbolc because we don't have enough Imbolc decks, basically. Of course, this is a celebration. This is a festival, 1st of February. We've passed it recently. Stunning deck. I love these blues, blacks, silvers. Little hints of brown, but really we are in these tones that are more these muted blues, just stunningly done. And I really connected with this deck when I got it. I also love the Mabon, but I wanted to show the Imbolc because I just think that we don't see enough of these colors. I just think they're gorgeous and stunning. So happy I purchased this and worked with it, and yeah, I'm so grateful for the work of Tiana Lukovic. I think that's her name, Tiana Lukovic. And of course, the guidebook is by Lauren Anderson and Juliet Diaz. Now, by the way, the Lammas Oracle will be up for order soon, or is already up for order. And of course, Ostara will be up for order midsummer. And then Lauren Anderson has already announced on her Instagram that she has a whole other series underway, as well as a book and other materials. I mean, we're just seeing, and also tarot. There will be a tarot to accompany this series. So Lauren Anderson has got a lot cooking, and she is an amazing content creator. Her and Juliet Diaz, of course. And of course, Tiana Lukovic has done an exceptional job here. Okay, so final ones. Beauty in Gaia. Sorry, I had to bring this in. That's the beauty of earthiness and the beauty of the world that we live in. And I wanted to show the Faceted Garden and the Illuminated Earth Oracle by Claire Mack. I also have the Rain Shadow, but I haven't even opened it yet. So that's still a journey to be done. But I just wanted to show these two decks because I think that they really symbolize for me beauty of Gaia, of the earth. She's just done it and encapsulated it so well. I mean, just look at that energy there. You know, I never knew artwork like this until I saw it in actually these kind of decks, and I was just blown away. And they really match the background, right? But just absolutely stunningly done. These decks would go with so well with so many of my other decks. I love using them. I'm so glad I have both. I'm so glad I also have the Rain Shadow Tarot. Looking forward to working with that this year. And just, you know, I just wanted to again talk about how much she's tapped into the energy of Gaia, of the earth, of all of those undercurrents that are in our world, as well as, of course, the ether. She's just done a phenomenal job. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop here. I'm going to put this one to the side. And I'm just going to say that, you know, thank you so much to Christine Rose L for her amazing tag. It's really inspired me to show you all of this, right? For her amazing tag. Thank you so much, Christine Rose L. And also thank you to Gigi, because if I hadn't seen her to respond to this tag, I would not have got round to it, but I did. And, you know, I also needed a little bit of encouragement because I have been down in the dumps lately. So I need a bit of encouragement, and I got that. So let me put these through here as like the parting wishes for this video. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for sticking around. I hope you have a wonderful week, whatever you're doing. Take care, and I will see you soon.